recording. Getting levels. What levels are you? What levels are you? Now we just got our hands on the new Ursa Mini Pro thanks to our friends at the DV shop in Toronto. Everything that's in the box is actually on the table except for these two little things that I'll talk about later. You got the Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K, the LAN control for the handle, a strap to kind of keep the handle a little more handily, the power unit, which is missing the part that goes into the actual wall, so you're gonna have to supply that, and then a dongle, and who doesn't love a dongle? Now, everything about this camera is exciting and new. Okay, so let's talk about the camera itself. So this is the 4.6K. They've actually taken everything from inside the menus and kind of put them into buttons. And this is what's really amazing is now you can set your ISO just by flicking a switch, adjust the shutter and white balance temperature. This button here actually activates the high frame rate, so you don't have to go into the menu for that. Here you have either your iris control or even the headphone volume. It's really kind of good to have all these buttons and everything laid out on the outside. But one of the things that's annoying is as you flip over your screen, let's just say you're doing some handheld like this, and now you want to change the iris. Well, it's a little bit almost impossible to get to. But Blackmagic must have realized that, because if you open up the screen and press one of either the back or the forward button, it'll also change the iris. You can also do it on the screen. The one thing I'm loving right now is the fact that the ND filter has been incorporated into the camera itself. So just like the C300, it allows you to now have 3 different ranges of ND filter. So you have 2 stops, 4 stops, and 6 stops of ND. So that's amazing, because when you're outside, you don't want to be fiddling around with the ND filters on your lens. Or maybe you do. What the hell do I care? Now this camera doesn't make any sense without using a battery plate, and the Blackmagic V-Lock battery plate is probably the easiest to install and has everything kind of set up for you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut to me installing the battery plate. Now I've already unscrewed the 3 other screws, and now I'm in the middle of removing the last one. I'm gonna put these guys aside just in case someone's gonna want that back. Now, here's the battery plate. It's really simple to install. Just use the connector and connect it into the back here. The problem is all this extra rod will probably get in the way. So let's see if we can have some fun putting it in. Now, push it in gently. You're gonna hear it click, most likely. There's your click. I always kind of do an extra little push. And now we gotta shove this guy in there. And this will take an hour. Let's just cut to the fact that I installed this thing. And boom, there you go, all installed. It took me about 45 minutes in order to get it to all align perfectly, but it's well worth it. All I have to do now is slap in my V-mount batteries, which are always tricky for me. Turn this sucker on, and 1, 2, 3. Close enough. Now it's all on, ready to go, handheld wonder. Now there are some things you need to know before you go out and you buy this camera. For those of you that are upgrading from the Ursa, let's just say, you may have a viewfinder. Why do I just, there we go. You may have a viewfinder. Well, one of the things that you will realize if you don't buy the shoulder mount kit that comes with the handle is There's only a 3/8 adapter in order to screw it in, and it doesn't really screw into the top of the Mini on its own. So you need to get a 1/4 inch thumb screw adapter, okay? And that's just a small thing. The next thing you really have to concern yourself about is the actual cards. These CFast cards are expensive, I'll give you that, but they're amazingly fast and about 2 to 3 times the speed of a regular SD card. So they're really worth investing in. And the fact that it has 2 SD slots is a little bit of a bonus for you. You can now shoot 422 and not have any issues. Now the problem is you can't just buy any CFast card. You have to make sure you check the Blackmagic website in order to see which ones have been rated for this camera. I originally had bought the Delkin 256 and 128 cards because they were super cheap. They're about $300 instead of $600 for these cards. But I had to return them, and now I have the Transcends, the 650s, which are rated for this camera, and they work perfectly. Now I can't say that there are any issues with this camera yet. I do have to get into the field and actually shoot some footage in order to see what the sensor is going to be able to pull off. Now there are a lot of people that were talking about the low light capabilities of the original Ursa Mini, and now with the 4.6 Pro, they're saying that it's slightly better. Well, one thing I can tell you for sure that's better that I've been able to test is the audio preamp. That is definitely better than the Ursa Mini or even the Ursa, which I've also tested. But the low light capabilities, I still have to go out and do some tests. It's probably going to be slightly better. They did build this sensor up from the ground. We're still kind of on the fence trying to figure out whether or not Blackmagic can do low light. See, this is a great camera for handheld. It has everything you need in order to do some run and gun shooting, but at the same time, it's still a little bit heavy. So you need to know that. It's about 6 pounds. It's enormous. Anything else? No, that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna get a drink. How am I gonna test this thing now? Maybe I should cut to slightly erotic candle blowing. That always works.
Wait just a second, baby. I wanna give you something to think about. And it's gonna drive you crazy. It's gonna make your knees shake when you feel me now. Step 1, I kiss your neck. Step 2, let me taste your lips. To step 3, my hands are on your hips. Step 4, you'll be screaming out, you want some more. Chorus, you into 5, intertwine.